Well, after a week of market volatility and betting plunges, Donald Trump has pressed pause on tariffs for 90 days. Everyone gets a reduction of 10%, except China, that's now facing an increase of 125% after it made threats of its own last night. Joining us live is CNN's Quest Means business host, Richard Quest. Richard, it is good to see you this morning. Thanks for your time on such a busy day. So, in your view, did Trump blink, or do you accept the White House version that this was all part of the plan?
Oh, no, he blinked. There's no... Late this afternoon, the White House President Trump basically said that he, Scott Bessent and Howard Lutnick had all been talking and they felt sorry and they put out their statement was all full of heart and they wanted to do something. And President Trump also said people were getting yippy, in his words. They were getting queasy. There had to be flexibility. So there's no question. The bond market was under pressure. Stocks had fallen. They realised this was no time to continue, particularly since they're now head-to-head, toe-to-toe with China, having raised tariffs to 125%.
Yeah, so who wins in a trade war that involves the world's two largest economies?
Well, let's pass this out. From Australia's point of view, there's no difference to the previous situation. Australia's 10% tariff, the tariff continues. Now everybody in the world is at a 10% tariff. That is the minimum. And at least for the next it's a floor, if you will, for the next 90 days, except to China. The problem with the Chinese tariff of 125% is that it's very likely to go higher if China retaliates. And just as significantly, if China can't sell into the United States, then all those Chinese goods are going to be going elsewhere. China's going to be looking to dump them in Australia, in the EU, Southeast Asia. They're going to be doing whatever they can to find new markets for those goods. And that is going to take its toll. So toe-to-toe, head-to-head, with the United States, the Chinese and the US, we're all going to feel the repercussions.
OK, so Bill Ackman was an interesting player behind the scenes in all of this, Richard. So first he was critical and now he's praising Trump. He says, well, now we understand who our preferred trading partners are. Maybe that means Australia. But they also know who the problems are. He says China has shown themselves to be a bad actor. What are your thoughts on those comments?
I'd use a stronger language, except I don't want to offend the good viewer over the breakfast table. The reality is it's a load of old whatever. Ackman's original letter, his original post on X, was superb in the way it analysed the position, the Trump administration. But now he's skating to much thicker ice because he doesn't want to offend.
Right.
China did what China naturally was going to do. It retaliated. Only a fool ever thought they weren't going to retaliate. She has... If you read the document that they put out in the People's Daily, it went into great detail about raw earth minerals. It goes into details about those things that they've been preparing for. The Chinese people, to quote J.D. Vance, those peasants, if you'll forgive me using the Vice President's phrase, they're getting ready and they're being prepared by the Chinese government for very hard times ahead.
Wow. OK, Richard Quest, good to have you with us today. Thank you so much.